on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It's a 1969 film. It's the 6th James Bond movie, but unfortunately Sean Connery has retired from playing James Bond, so the studio, I'm sure, had to go on a long, treacherous search to find the great new James Bond. And who did they pick? George Lazenby?
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Alright, so this movie is directed by Peter R. Hunt, and the plot of this movie, the bald Dr. Evil guy from the last movie that Donald Pleasence played, I forget his name, I know, and he plans on sterilizing the food supply, or he's willing to make a deal with the government to give him international amnesty, which basically means he's off limits and he gets to go off, retire, live a private life, and all of his past crimes are exempt. So James Bond, George Lazenby, has to go in, disguise himself as this other guy in order to infiltrate the operation and stop him. I thought it was, you know what, instead of telling you what I thought of the movie, let me show you my reaction while watching this movie.
Tracy, I was always taught that mistakes should be remedied.
Well, you have given me a wedding present. The best I could have. The future.
This is Bond.
Der Engländer ist verschwunden.
So yeah, basically this movie sucked. George Lazenby as James Bond was just like, really? This is who you have replace Sean Connery? Wow.
The new Bond. The different 007.
Now, maybe it's not George Lazenby's fault because he's not a real actor. He was actually a male model who they just hired because he had a similar look. They even had to dub his voice. That's how probably bad he was. The only moment that I will give George Lazenby is the scene that they wrote for him where he gets into a scuffle because he's trying to get with the girl and these guys beat him up, and then afterwards he stops and he says,
This never happened to the other fella.
I will admit that was pretty funny. Or the outfit he wore, like that suit with the lace dress shirt, like no wonder Mike Myers spoofed that look with Austin Powers. I get that they couldn't get Donald Pleasence to come back and they had to change the actor. His name is Telly Savalas. But even the way he looked, they didn't even try to make him look similar to how he looked in the last movie. He doesn't have the scar anymore, no cat. The group of women that he calls the Angels of Death, and he brainwashes them to be his servants or whatever, like he hypnotizes them constantly. I'm sitting there the whole time thinking, this is just fucking stupid. Yeah, this is the most Bond girls that you have in a movie, technically. Just more women for Bond to sleep with. But at the same time, I just didn't feel like they amounted to anything. And they were in Switzerland for the movie, which the location didn't impress me at all. And I didn't really understand the plot, or at least how the plot makes sense, because how is James Bond supposed to pose as someone else, go undercover, go into number one's secret headquarters and stop him from doing this? But the last movie, Bond and number one already had a scuffle. They already met and they already went at it at the end of the movie. So is this movie supposed to disregard that because they don't know each other anymore? Just because they're both played by different actors doesn't mean you can just take away any form of logic. The one thing that I actually didn't mind in this movie was the main Bond girl. The girl who James Bond eventually falls in love with. Even though I didn't buy the fact that he fell in love with her so quick. Especially because he was sleeping with a bunch of girls during this whole thing. But okay, fine. So he fell in love with her. He proposes to her. I like the actress that played her. She was pretty. Even though if James Bond was to marry someone, shouldn't it be Penny? And she was tough, and she can handle herself, like you see at the end of the movie. But then, after they get married, I don't want to spoil it, but it ends in a way where I'm like, wow, the one thing that I liked about this movie, and now you just strip that away from me. Honestly, what more can I say about this movie? George Lazenby was horrible. I didn't think this plot or this script was worthwhile at all. It was 2.5 hours long. I'm pretty sure it's the longest James Bond movie that we've gotten so far, and that's way too long. But let me know in the comments below if you have seen it, what you think of this James Bond movie. As always, like and subscribe. Later!